It's letting me do it. I can't believe it. It's certainly been an interesting year. We've seen Reading run to the top, be first, and then drop halfway. We've seen Rotherham go to fourth, fifth, and then drop to relegation contenders. We've seen a fair few teams at the bottom, like Middlesbrough and West Brom and Huddersfield. Two of the three have now ploughed their way to the top. It's quite difficult to believe that we're in a situation where we've got Huddersfield who have such a difficult set of games coming up that they've got to win 2 or 3 of their next 3 games to be able to stay up. And like Warnock, as much as you can, but it's almost an impossible task with the teams they've got coming up to play. You just can't see them getting enough points to get anywhere near the survival rate. It's difficult. I think Huddersfield will be finding it really tough. I'd love to see him do a great escape. He did a great escape for Rotherham, my side, a few years ago. We were bottom of the league, bottom of the championship, and he came in with 16 games to go, and we were safe with 2 games left. So we shall see whether he gets the same Midas touch with Huddersfield. I can't see it. There's turmoil off the pitch as well, so that's a little bit worrying when you add the fact that there's so many difficult teams that they've got to come and play. So at the minute, Huddersfield are one of my teams to go down. Looking at the fixture list, I'd say Wigan are, well, I can't see them being in the bottom for long. The teams they play are technically at least on a par with them. There's not many difficult games for them. They've improved their technical ability in January, and I can't see them being in the bottom 3, 4 for very long. I think they'll be on the beach by the time we get to the last 2 games. They'll be hitting that last game at home against Rotherham, and they're on the beach. It really doesn't matter to them. They'll probably fight the hell to try and make Rotherham go down, but the point is they will be safe. And there's other teams in the mix. QPR are nowhere near it. They're not going to be anywhere near that relegation zone. Birmingham only needs about 4 games, 4 wins out of the last 13. You can't see them not getting it with the games that they've got coming up. They should be able to get the 12 points to be well above 50 points. I just can't see them not getting it. 50 points is easy for them. They didn't take that as a walk in the park. So if Wigan come out of it, Birmingham aren't in it, QPR aren't in it, Stoke were in the bottom 8, but they're now somewhere else. Bristol City were in the bottom 8, but that's the mid-table. It leaves you with 4 teams for the bottom 3. So basically, the 4 teams for the bottom 3 are Blackpool, Huddersfield, Cardiff, and Rotherham. Now, Rotherham are obviously slightly ahead of everybody else, but 2 of the teams below them have got a game in hand on them. So it's a little bit skewed by that. But if you remember 2 years ago when Rotherham had 6 or 7 games in hand and they lost every single one, games in hand mean nothing in a championship relegation fight. Really don't. It's going to be interesting because what we've got is a set of teams that have all changed. Well, yeah, they've all changed the manager. Rotherham now have Matty Taylor in charge. It's not too bad. He's at the end of the day, he's a League One manager, and I just don't think I don't think much has changed. He does change the formation mid game, which our previous manager didn't, and um, he does like to change people, not just in the last 10 minutes, which our previous manager didn't. So it is played differently, the game, but we've not really, we either click or we don't. So I think, like when we slaughtered Blackburn, and then we drew against Watford but should have won it, and then we drew against Sheffield United, and both teams could have won it in that last few minutes. So and then we go and lose against Reading, and then we lose against Coventry and the referee in that instance. So it's quite difficult to see, because they win against the top and then they do badly against the bottom, and you think, it's a bit like Bristol City were renowned for in the last few years. They can play absolutely stupendous football, brilliant to watch, and then the next game they just don't turn up. So it's difficult with the Rotherham team. They've got a few very difficult games coming up. I've got a run of about 5 or 6 where they might only get 3 points, which is quite concerning. They will have to get as many points on the board as they can before they hit that last few games. And then they come out of it to play Wigan away in the last game. So it's going to be really, really tough. Can they do it? Well, they've got enough points in hand. I'd rather points in the bag than games in hand to consider being able to stay ahead by 1 or 2 points. I think at worst case, I can see they might be even with Blackpool for a relegation slot on goal difference. Excuse me. It's going to be interesting. It really is. I can't see it being much of a points difference down there. Cardiff, although their tough games aren't all clumped together, there's a fair few difficult games in there, and there's a fair few games where they play the other bottom, or the teams who were in the bottom 8 back 3 or 4 weeks ago. So there's a few games in there that are going to be hot games. They could win them, they could lose them. You can't assume they're going to win every single one. If they win half of them, then that would be, reasonably their best option. Statistically, I think they're the team I'm most worried about finishing bottom. The next couple of games will be crucial, but at the minute, before we hit those next couple of games, if they don't do well in them, I'm putting the Cardiff City team as 24th. In 23rd, I have Blackpool, and the reason why I got Blackpool in 23rd is because the Mick McCarthy effect has toughened up the defence, but nothing else. So I'm a little bit worried that defence has just not really tightened up as much as what you would really hope for. So at the minute, firmly at the bottom, I've got Cardiff. In 23rd, I've got poor old Blackpool. And 22nd is, strangely enough, actually 22nd and 23rd I've got almost on the same point. So I'd be tempted to say that it's going to be a Blackpool Huddersfield 23rd, 24th. I think Huddersfield will do better than we think in this tough set of games in the middle, and that Warnock will just put a brick wall at the back, and he will manage to get a few points, single draws from these really tough games. And I think he will manage to get something from it. It's Warnock we're talking about. He's just one of those guys you can guarantee he's going to get something from nowhere, and that's going to be the difference. If it wasn't Warnock, I'd be saying Huddersfield were going to finish 23rd, absolutely, with Blackpool finishing just a couple of points ahead in 22nd, and and then you'd have Rotherham sort of teetering above them, and probably even sort of with the possibility that at worst they could be on goal difference with Blackpool in 22nd. But it's the 23rd and 24th, 23rd and 22nd slot are the most difficult ones to judge. Again, what points are they on? I've got 24th on about 45 points. I've got 23rd on about. I've got 23rd on. I've got 23rd on 47 points, and I've got at the minute 22nd is on 47, 48 points, and Rotherham I've got on 21st with about 48, 49 points. So you can see that's sort of why I'm saying it's not guaranteed that Rotherham will be out of it, but they're going to be pretty close all the way to the end. They're certainly not going to be on the beach at any point during that those games, especially with such tough games at the end. It's going to be difficult. It really is. I think that interestingly enough, I've got the figures here for Birmingham. So Birmingham's figures, their maximum is about 62 points, but I think they'll get about 55. Stoke City were in the bottom 8 at one point. Their maximum is about 65. I think they'll finish on about 59. Bristol City finishing on about 60. They could finish on about 66, which is pretty damn close to the sixth place, isn't it? So if we go from 20th downwards, in 20th position I have Wigan on 54 points. I think I put on 20th, I sneaked Rotherham on 49 points, so that we'd have a concise non-goal difference 22nd, which is Blackpool on 48. They don't seem to have clicked quite as they probably hoped. Defence have, but I don't think up front they have. Then on 23rd, I've got Huddersfield on 47, and I have Cardiff in 24th on 45 points. Wow. It is, like I say, it's one of those seasons that you just wouldn't even consider 48, 48, 49 points a relegation points total. It's just ridiculous. So many times, if you get 47, 48 points, you're safe. You would have been last year, but you're not this year. You get 47 points this year, you're likely to be going down. And I think with the games that are coming up, the teams like Cardiff and specifically Huddersfield, they have to get as many points on the board as they can at the beginning before they hit the tough period. Wigan have a really good set of games before their little little blip of about 4 or 5 difficult games, but then they have more easy ones straight after. So, I mean, there are no easy games, but the more winnable games you get, the more the odds are that you'll get at least a few points from them. And I can see that happening for them. I can see that they're going to be going up there and being safe by. If you look at it, 54 points, 54 points, and 22nd is basically 6 points behind. So what I'm saying is, Wigan could be safe with 2 games to spare. So they'll go into the last 2 games thinking, "Hey, it doesn't really matter. We can just be on the beach and enjoy the last 2 games." And it's fun when you do that. Warnock did it for Rotherham. The last 2 games, we lost both of them, but it was brilliant. It was like we got promotion. It really was. I I feel for Warnock. He's took a job on that's really difficult, not because of the team, but because of the games they've got coming up. They're really, really difficult, and it's not something that's going to be. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be something that's going to be won on the pitch. Some of it's going to be won in the back room. So you've got Huddersfield on charges. You've got Birmingham on charges. It's not easy. This is not going to be something that just goes away. Yeah, seasons are lost, I'm afraid, with turmoil in the back office, not by players on the field. So, well, quite often. I'd be interested to think what you think, because there are times, and there's one or two last year where you get players who just don't want to play for you, and they really do scupper the entire season. They ruin the atmosphere in the changing room, and the manager's got to try and grab hold of it, and they don't always manage to succeed, and you end up with them going down because they just couldn't get around this one player that they can't get out, because perhaps he's a damn good player, but he's so disruptive that do we play our best player, or do we sort of just not invite him into the changing room on a Saturday because he's too disruptive? And like I said, Rotherham had that last year, and it's really, really difficult. Really is. And if you've got one like that, the fans know they've got a team member like that, and it's awful for the fans because they can see it happening. They can see what's happening on the pitch, and they can see that the players on the pitch are actually better than what they're performing like. And actually, it's really, really shitty, because they know they could get a really good teammate, but they've got 1 or 2 players. I mean, Manchester United are the same. They've had times when they've been, brilliant, but then they blipped, and people have said, "Hang on, he's disrupting the changing room." Yeah, but he's brilliant. We can't not play him. So it happens in the best of sides with the best of managers. If you get a disruptive player, it's really difficult to pull the game back. And I think it's going to be a case of that. You've got the disruptions from outside. You have got disruptions from inside that could do it as well. But I don't think we've really got that much to worry about in the bottom of the championship this year. Like I said, we did have in the top of the League One last year. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what sort of disruptions your club is going to sort of find as it gets through to the last few games, because it's going to be those things that really affect the team and the performance and whether you go down or stay up. So all in all, guys, I think it's going to be a bumpy ride to the end. We're not far away, remember, 13 games is it? So we've got to really start to think about who's going to make a difference. I think Warnock has the ability to get a few extra points, and that's why I say I put them in 23rd in that last comment. But you know, I would probably bag Warnock to be able to get an extra couple of points there, and from the games they really shouldn't be getting points from. And if you take that, they're on 47, and Rotherham are just on 2 points head on 49. It would only take Warnock to get 2 draws from those games you wouldn't expect them to get points from. Like I don't know, they played Burnley and West Brom, and all of a sudden they're on equal points with Rotherham. If they draw 3 of those 5 or 6 games that are difficult, hell, they're ahead of Rotherham, and it's Rotherham that's in there in 22nd position. So it's going to be really, really difficult. Can Warnock do it? Bet your bloody life he could. I'm a Rotherham fan. I don't want him to, but he could. He really could. Cardiff, I can't see there being enough improvement. Get rid of their manager, and they're still just as much in turmoil as anything else. Don't see them really clicking constantly. They've had 1 or 2 really good games, but it's not consistent. But there again, Rotherham have had a couple of really excellent games, but it's not consistent. The only seriously consistent team I can see is Huddersfield, and they're consistently getting better a little bit. But now they've got brick wall to come against. Cardiff, yeah. Wigan didn't make much change in January, but they certainly increased their technical ability, and they'd already got good technical ability in there. Keane's brilliant. They'll be on the beach. Birmingham nearly on the beach anyway. They only need 4 games to. They could win 4 out of their next 5 games, and they're on the beach. They won't mind. The fans will just be thinking, yeah, well, that's 4 out of 5. We can sit on the beach and wait for next year. Let's do the rebuild and start next year possibly on a points deduction. But they'll be happy that they didn't get anywhere near relegation. So certainly, sort of, if they get there with it, sort of 7-8 games to go, the fans will be fine. They'll be happy with it, or as happy as they can be. I don't think there's anybody else in that bottom section that we need to talk about. No, your Stoke and your Bristol City have gone out of it already. QPR are miles away from it. Birmingham will be. I think their game against Sheffield at the end will be just a bit of a party time. The one thing that you can see at the end is the week before the last game, you've got Huddersfield Cardiff, which may be Huddersfield's last gasp attempt to make sure Cardiff are in the 24th position and that they can actually get out of it, get out of that relegation slot. Equally, Cardiff may surprise us, and playing Huddersfield is their last chance to get out of it, because Cardiff's last game is Burnley away. Huddersfield's last game is Reading at home. They could get points there. You see, that's it. You see, they could get 6 points out of their last 2 games, Huddersfield, and suddenly you're talking about, they could they could sort of start nibbling that 49, 50 points and staying up. Blackpool's is Norwich away, so forget that. Wigan play Rotherham at Wigan, so that's going to be a toughie. I say that could be a game where winner takes all and stays up. It's all going to be fun. It would have been nice to have had somebody visiting. So I chose 6:45, and I thought, well, if 6:45, you might get one or two people interested in coming in. It's always nice to have somebody else's view. And if you've got a view, please put it in the bottom. Please like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. No. It's nice to have a like and a subscribe. I don't know why it let me go live. It doesn't usually let me go live. It usually says you need 50 subscribers, but in this case, it didn't say that. So hopefully, it is actually live streaming, and I'm not talking to myself. I'm feeling a total idiot. So give it a couple of minutes, just see if anybody wants to come on. If anybody's playing this in reverse in the future. We've got some very interesting games coming up this Saturday. Shall we go to those while we're waiting to see if anybody comes on, which is probably a no. So Rotherham just beat Sunderland. If you want to have a game to take a time slot from. We have Wigan. They're playing Preston away. Preston aren't that great at home. I think that could be a Wigan win. Blackpool away at Reading, who are they've got. It's an odd side. They've got two or perhaps three really great players there. I can't see them winning. I think Blackpool may come away with a draw. Then you've got Huddersfield and Cardiff. Huddersfield are playing Burnley away. Sorry, even Warnock's not going to get anything from that game. Burnley win. Cardiff have got Norwich away, but Norwich have got a poor defence. If they can get an early goal, they might get something from it, but I think Norwich will win that. That's the sort of game that would change the course of the relegation battle. If they could get a point from that, I think that would prove quite concisive. Rotherham at Swansea. I'm going to back Rotherham because of the turmoil at Swansea. Birmingham are playing Luton. I think it's going to be a draw. Stoke are playing Millwall, but at home, so I think that's going to be a Stoke win. Bristol City versus Hull. I've got Bristol City to win because they've been doing really well. Thank you very much if you are viewing this in the future. Please give me a thumbs up. I would love to know who you are and what team you support. And I'd love to see what your bottom 4 positions are. I'm pretty sure I know who they are. I just don't know what way you're putting them. If you can give me a quick message in the bottom to how you're putting them, I may even come back and discuss a few of them. Yeah, why not? If you give me your bottom 4, let's go back and in the future, sometime perhaps in a week or 10 days, when I've got a few responses, I'll come back and I'll discuss all of your comments. Thank you for viewing. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the future.